So the flying device here is my fluorescent yellow mayfly, and I was asked on a Facebook page if I would do a tying video for this, so here goes. I don't know in the light here whether you can make out the fluorescence of it as good, but it is very fluorescent under UV light. Let's get to tying it. So it's tied on a size 10 fulling mill heavy wet, but you could tie it on an 8 as well, and it's for the Irish loughs. This is one I use on Lough Corrib and Lough Mask. Thread I'm going to use is 30 denier in brown Semperfly nano silk. I just want a strong thin thread because I want to keep the head area neat at the end, as I'll be changing the thread for a sort of a fluorescent red head on this one. It's a fly I like to use later on in the mayfly time, or on the second mayfly hatch, when there's second mayfly hatch late on the season, and trout might be switching to Daphne and in the deeper water then as well. So fluorescent colours are useful in the pattern at that stage. So I'm going to add this is lure flash pearl lurex in medium. Just going to run the thread down around the bend a bit and back up. Now you can use super glue if you want. I'm going to just use some clear lacquer for this. Just get a bit on my needle, and it'll start getting sticky in a second or two, and then I just run the medium pearl back up over that. You could use probably gold or yellow gold as well, but I do like the pearls, so that's what I use on this pattern. So, and the tail of this, I'm using a cock pheasant centre tail, dyed a sort of a mustardy yellow, and pull out 6 or 7 fibres, and you're looking at about 1.5 times the length of the hook. Just catch those in, keep them on top, run your thread along, and trim that off. And there's your tail. It'll sit down a bit more when I come back down. For the rib, I'm going to use a hot yellow medium wire. Just trim that off and catch it in. Just run that down all the ways down your body. So the body then is going to be yellow seals for now. I used the Frankie McPhillips mayfly yellow on this pattern, but you do have an option if you want to of adding just a pinch of fluorescent yellow seals for into that. Especially if you don't have fluorescent yellow hackles and you want to use a normal yellow hackle, and you want to use a nice bright yellow hackle, then add a piece of fluorescent yellow, just this pinch, and mix it through your yellow mayfly seals for dubbing. So as I say, this one is the Frankie McPhillips, and I've waxed that thread. And just add your dubbing and run it up the length of your body. You have a couple of hackles to use on this fly, so I think if you're starting off with this style of pattern, just make sure you leave yourself enough room up here. Okay. Just going to pull everything back there and try and keep it back for now anyway, as much as I can. The hackle on this is a fluorescent yellow grizzle dyed, basically grizzle cock dyed fluorescent yellow. I'm just going to catch that in like so. Drop it down and just wind it. Usually on these try and get an extra turn or two near the head here, and then start opening out your turns as you come down the body of the fly. And you get down to the end there, get your wire rib and trap down your hackle. Get about 4 turns on this size 10, and then just lock it in place, stroke everything back, lock it in place in front, a couple of turns, and then just twist that wire off. Keep that wire and your lurex for the next fly. Snip off your remainder of your hackle. Again, this is quite fluorescent, but I don't know if you can pick it up on the video. Maybe you can. That distance, it really glows. In front of that, I'm going to add a fairly long fibered French partridge feather, which is also dyed fluorescent yellow, but because your French partridge feathers are a greyish colour, only the light bar comes out really fluorescent yellow, and the grey turns a sort of almost an olive colour, but again it does pop under the light. So that's your next hackle. So strip away all the fluff there and just prepare that. I'm going to catch it in by the tip, and I'll probably use at least 2 turns of this. It's up to you to some extent, but you know, it gives the fly the leggy effect. And most Irish wet may patterns tend to use French partridge feathers on them. Sort of a go-to pattern. So let's catch that and get a couple of turns on it. Now you can fold it. I kind of just brush it back as I'm winding it. Give you a similar, it's just a similar effect to folding the hackle anyway. And I've got most of the hackle on there, so I'll just get the last turn on it all together, use it up. And let's lock that in. Again, let's pull everything back, a couple of turns in front. Trim off your stem. You can at this stage velcro some of your fibres back, and it'll also pull out some of the seals for body. You could do it earlier, but I didn't want to velcro the pampered hackle too much, so you can see that kind of sweeps the fibres, and it splits your French partridge fibres all around the hook there. So once you've that velcroed, your thread will usually come back half a mil or so, and then you just have your front hackle. This is it's almost a salmony brown. It's a strange coloured feather. It's from the neck of a drake widgeon, and if you don't have these, you could probably just put a normal coloured or natural coloured French partridge on, but I do like these on the front of mayflies. Partridge feathers are good on the front, as are English partridge or Hungarian partridge if you can't get English partridge. So again, we're just going to give this a turn or two at the front. It's very soft, and it's long, but not quite as long as the partridge feather. Let me just get one more turn on that, I'd say there. That's fine. And then again, we just stroke it back, get a few turns in front, and just trim that down as tight as you can, and just tidy it up a bit. Again, if you want, just a couple of light, not too heavy. Didn't mean to do that. Be alright because it's nano silk. Couple of light just sweeps back with your Velcro brush. Just get the feather sitting the way you want, and then just tidy up your head area. And you can either add a whip finish or 2 half hitches at this stage. Just going to add a quick whip finish. Trim off your nano silk. Then I've got some tommi fly fluorescent red here. It's a thready floss. I give that 3 or 4 turns just to get it started, and I'm going to trim off the excess. Now, I didn't add any wax to that. You could for grip here, but I don't want to do anything that might dull the fluorescence of the material here on the head. And the great thing about this UV tommi is it doesn't dull when you coat it with lacquer or UV, so that's a plus. Now just be careful when you're catching it in a whip finish tool that you don't split it with the point of the whip finish tool there. So give that 3 or 4 turns of whip finish, and that's our red head, and it's, as you can see, it's nice and neat. And you can trim it off. I like to add a drop of lacquer before I trim off, just to make sure nothing's going to move anywhere. So just add a drop to the head of the fly there. Get your thread and snip it off, and then just turn it upside down. Coat it all around. I say there's your fluorescent yellow mayfly.